There was a
Nope.
story I ran last week. I cannot remember. I'm sorry who said it. It was some upper mid-level functionary, someone in the banking industry or the government, and that it was the government. And he may have been resigning, I don't know, but he did say, and he made it quite clear. He said, "Look, this country is thoroughly controlled by Israeli Zionists." Now, he didn't use the term Israeli Zionists. I think he just used Israelis or Jewish Americans, but the point was made.
Yeah.
Zionism now is the actual, if you look at the body as being controlled by a central nervous system, be it autonomic or just a regular, it doesn't matter. The nervous system of the world is essentially a Zionist nervous network now, a nerve network. Everywhere the control is being put forward and utilized and manifested by Zionism. It's in everything. They buy their way in, they penetrate, they blackmail, they kill, they corrupt. It doesn't matter. And remember, on the face of this earth, people who call themselves, we're not talking about people of Jewish faith here. We're talking about the secular, non-religious movement of world geopolitical domination and conquest called Zionism.
That's right.
Point
Yeah.
0.34% of the world population calls itself Jewish. And of that 0.34%, a much smaller percentage will actually admit to being Zionist. Zionist, in the loosest sense, refers to anyone who places Israel first, the chosen. We are the chosen, Israel über alles, okay? That's basically what it's about. And the plan, of course, came to fruition in the late 1800s when Theodor Herzl cobbled it together and put it out there, and it took off like the most vicious, voracious cancer ever. And it has eaten the planet up.
And there's another point about that that has always blown my mind. What was the first place that Theodor Herzl and G.M. Weizmann and those guys that founded Zionism, what was the very first place that they wanted to start their new Zionist government, their new country, for the Zionists to start a new country? What was the first choice? Where was it going to be on the earth that they were going to set up Israel? Did you ever hear that?
Well, I've got two ideas. One, I know they've been looking at Patagonia for a long, long time in South the Southern Hemisphere in South America. But
Yep.
the other choice, it's on the tip of my tongue. You're going to have to help me.
It was Uganda and Africa.
Okay.
The Zionists wrote, and Theodor Herzl wrote that the best place to set up the new Zionist government called Israel would be in Uganda and Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this was all about God gave you this holy land in Israel and all that stuff. And for Christ's sake, this guy's talking about setting up the whole operation in Uganda, Africa. The hell is that all about? But nobody knows that. Nobody talks about the fact that Uganda was supposed to be the home of Israel. I mean, I don't know, where do you go with that? But that's a fact. Go look it up in the dictionary.
Well,
where
here's the background.
the Zionists wanted to set up Israel. In Uganda, Africa.
Here's the background.
Incredible.
Theodor Herzl sought support from the great powers for the creation of a Jewish homeland. He turned to Great Britain and met with Joseph Chamberlain, the British colonial secretary, and others. The British agreed in principle to Jewish settlement in East Africa on conditions we will enable members to observe their national customs. Okay, so at the 6th Zionist Conference at Basel, August 26, 1903, Herzl proposed the British Uganda program as a temporary refuge for Jews in Russia in an immediate danger situation. By a vote of 295 to 178, it was decided to send an expedition to examine the territory of Uganda and see about setting up shop down there. So you're quite right.
And it's just amazing to me. How many people know that? I mean, again.
No. So much for this. Yes, excuse me, but so much for what you just said about 2,000-year yearning to return to their sacred homeland. When in 1905 they wanted to go to Uganda. Point well taken.
I don't know what to say about it. It's ludicrous on the face of it, and but then I would go a step further and say there's something very big behind what is being taunted as and called Zionism. There's something bigger yet behind
Agreed.
that.
Agreed.
Yeah,
We'll not see it. We'll not see it. We'll not know what it is. And it involves ultimately a hidden economy on this planet that is in the quadrillions that no one knows about. Massive amounts of what we would call money, but they call it something entirely differently. It's called wealth. Wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another name. Probably the richest and most influential of all American Jews in the last century, Zionist Jews, was Jacob Schiff. Now, you remember All in the Family, the whole blue blood line of keeping it together. Jacob Schiff's grandson married whom? He married the daughter of Al and Tipper Gore. All right? So it all stays together. Now here's another little footnote. A project that had some concrete success was the Galveston scheme, which contemplated the settlement of Jews in the American Southwest, in particular Texas. Now the Galveston scheme came after the Uganda proposal. So again, so much for this yearning to return to their ancient homeland of 2,000 and plus years. They wanted to go to Galveston. This is ridiculous.
That makes me feel warm all over.
Okay. Doesn't it? That's a warm and fuzzy if there ever was one. That project got the assistance and backing of one Jacob Schiff, the American Jewish banker, and some 9,300 Jews arrived in the Galveston, Texas area between 1907 and 1914 through the Immigration Bureau of the Territorialist Organization. Is that a backslapper or what?
So much for history.
And then the third effort, of course, was the Balfour Declaration, which they finally figured out that they wanted to go back to their homeland. So that's how that came about. Yeah. Now the Rothschilds own their own private country right there in Israel, that wonderful little democracy in the Middle East. All right. So first Uganda, then Galveston, Texas, the Jewish homeland, and then they kind of gave up and said, well, let's go to Israel. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to work anywhere else. Well, let's go there. Pick something. It doesn't matter. Just pick somewhere.
Unbelievable. Well, geez, they could have picked. Lucky they didn't pick Sherman Oaks, huh, Jordan? I guess they kind of did in a way when you think about it. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Okay, and if you've missed it, Jordan Maxwell is with us, and we've just kind of exposed this 2,000-year dream of returning to the Jewish homeland. It's a geopolitical issue of Zionism. It's not a religious thing, and when you realize that they first wanted to go to Uganda, gave that up, and then wanted to go to Galveston, Texas, because Jacob Schiff thought it was a great idea, and then finally decided, well, let's make it Israel, and that was the Balfour Declaration. You kind of figure out that this whole thing has been a little less sincere than some would have us believe. Let's just put it that way. And remember also Bernard Baruch of the last century, one of the most powerful of all of the Zionist Jewish moguls, bailed Winston Churchill out at least once, if not twice, and owned his whole shtick, lock, stock, and barrel, and controlled him. That's how they do it, folks. Everybody's got a price, or they get in trouble and they get bought out. You play ball, you come out on top. You don't, you're in trouble. Jordan, you have in the last few years, and I've the greatest respect for your courage and your bravery, always had. But you have really been telling it exactly like it is. Nobody else, for years and years, would touch this subject. I did, and I paid heavily for it. You have, but I mean, it's quite clear to anyone who honestly and realistically examines history what's going on. But most people don't want to go there; they're too afraid.
Well, I think it's the same kind of mentality has always been around. Generally speaking, the people of a nation who was it that was the European economist? I can't remember his name right now, but he made an interesting observation that the people of this world have always, in ancient history, all of history, the people have always supported a dictator. The people will always support a dictator, always, until the support of that dictator becomes so burdensome that it's better to overthrow him. And so people have always just gone along to get along. I mean, even with the founding of this country, we've been told that it was only about 3% of the male population took up arms against England. That means 97% were home watching TV and didn't give a damn one way or the other. And today, that's just exactly about right. You talk to people anywhere in America today, they have no idea what's going on, and they really couldn't care less. As long as their bellies are full and they've got their beer and basketball and Dancing with the Stars, they don't care one way or the other.
And the internet connection is up, so 30% of them, 30% of all internet business goes to porn sites now.
Yep. And but that's what that's what they already knew, and making this stuff available. And
they knew drugs, pornography. Are you kidding? It was right in there. The basic, what they call the Communist Manifesto on how to take over America. But communism really is Bolshevism. In fact, every major ism of the last century was a Zionist construct. Every one of them. Think about it.
I was going to say that after looking at symbols and words and terms and catchphrases for over 50 years, it has become overwhelmingly, in my view, that all of the isms have a common origin because they use common symbols, words, terms, color schemes. It's fascinating. Catholicism has the same symbols as fascism. Fascism has the same symbols as Nazism. Nazism has the same identical words and terms and symbols and catchphrases as communism. It all seems to be some kind of a divide and conquer idea that's been around for a long time, and unless and until you are familiar with reading symbols and spotting the machinations of how this stuff works, there's patterns, and that was the word I was looking for, pattern recognition. And I began seeing this a long time ago in my teens, that a classic example is the swastika. Everyone assumes that the political party of the Nazis were the ones that made the swastika popular. But in fact, no, the swastika's been around back as far back as the ancient Hindus, and God knows how far back that can go. So, but what's really interesting is that the communists in Soviet Union, on the money of the Soviet Union, in the middle of their bills was a big swastika. And so the Soviet Union used swastikas on their money. And people, but you show a swastika, and immediately people think that's Nazi. No, this one is from Russia. This was on the Russian money. And so why are the Russians and why are the Soviets, communist state, using a swastika? Well, the same reason why the Catholic Church, fascism, communism, and everybody else uses the red star. The red star goes back to the symbol for the five-pointed pentagram was said to be the Solomon seal, the seal of Solomon. All of this has to do with ancient religions, secret societies, and cults.
Right.
That goes back thousands of years, and it's everywhere. And that's why the human race is so confused today, because it's just everywhere. You cannot turn anywhere to any institution or any bank or any government or any church or any synagogue or any Islamic temple. It's everywhere. And the people of the world have no idea how to deal with this. It's too big a thing for mortal man to wrap his mind around how big this stuff really is.